With the recent additions, Vandy's offense can be more balanced, which will lead to more potential explosiveness.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thank you for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. On today's episode, we're going to discuss how Vandy baseball needs to go ahead and commit to speed. Mark Byington has a chance to land a baller. But before all of that, Vandy's offense can now be more balanced, which can and will lead to more explosiveness. So the first thing we have to do when we talk about being more balanced and potentially causing explosiveness is we got to define balanced, okay? Because there's a lot of definitions out there, and a lot of people have a lot of different definitions of what being balanced truly means, okay? So one definition is the definition that I'm not going to go with, but the first definition that everyone, when they hear the word balance, they see these two stats: 50% run, 50% pass. That's not balanced, because your 50% pass could go to like one player and your 50% run could go to like two players. That's not balance. That's balance as far as like when you look at pass versus run. I can see where you think that's balance, but that's not true balance when you're talking about just an overall offense, okay? What I think true balance is, what true balance really is having as many playmakers as you can making plays with the ball. So in your run game, having as many people attacking and contributing as possible, getting the ball, spreading the ball to all your receivers, having schemes that take advantage of the specific skill sets. True balance is incorporating your entire puzzle. As I stick with this puzzle analogy, it's sticking with your entire puzzle, finding ways to incorporate each piece in its own spot to where each spot is almost as equally as critical. Now, you're probably going to lean heavier to one piece versus another. So you're never really going to have like complete equal shares of touching the football and making plays, but it's giving everyone on the field the chance to contribute. It's giving Luke Foungy a chance to contribute, even if the ball goes to Quincy Skinner more times than Luke Foungy. As long as there's the opportunities there, the targets will come. There'll be games where Foungy outplays Junior Sherrill. There'll be times where Jeremiah Dillon outplays everything. There's going to be times where the stats are kind of skewed in one direction, but true balance means that you are contributing and producing with as many guys as you can as possible. Now, sometimes it's some days you achieve it, but it's one of those things where you're always chasing balance, which also leads to more explosives and also opportunities arise out of your pursuit of true balance. So now that we've got true balance defined, here's how it fits in with Vandy, okay? And it starts with the quarterback position, okay? Because your starting quarterback, which I anticipate at the beginning of the year is going to be Diego Pavia. I think all indications point to Diego Pavia. So let's get that out of the way. Nate Johnson is going to play a role. Nate Johnson had a great spring. Nate Berlowitz had a good spring. Drew Dickey had a good, like the quarterbacks had a good, solid, productive spring. But Diego Pavia is a veteran. He is extremely knowledgeable in the system. And all other things equal, those two things separate Pavia from the rest of the pack. But Pavia, with his skill set, he's a good downhill runner. He's good in the short to intermediate passing game, and he has the moxie that you want out of a starting quarterback. So he's going to be able to be smart enough to kind of spread the wealth and try to achieve true balance. Okay. So it starts with him. It starts with the quarterback being able to and being willing to throw to different targets and be able to execute the scheme within the grand scheme, and not just how can we help Jeremiah Dillon? How can we help Cedric Alexander? How can I help myself? It's kind of goes along that line. But where the other guys can help Diego Pavia, okay, it starts up front with the offensive line. It always does, okay? And as non-exciting as you think the offensive line is, they are equally as important. So you better get excited about those guys, because on this show, those guys are going to get love, okay? If you want offensive linemen to get love, this is the place you come, okay? Because the offensive line is going to help the running backs. They're going to help the receivers. And most importantly, they're going to help the quarterback be able to execute everything that he needs to execute within this offense. So you better love your offensive linemen. You better know their names. You better root for them and not just say, hey, block somebody. Oh, you're holding. You suck. Support those guys. It's the hardest job in football is the offensive line, especially the guards. Actually, I don't know. That's debatable. All 5 spots are freaking hard. You got to be a dude to even – if you can start on the offensive line in the SEC, you are a dude, okay? Let me just put that out there. You have my respect, okay? So this balanced attack, this explosiveness starts with them. And I think Vandy, with their most recent additions, I think they've got some guys. And the other key word to Vandy's offseason is potential, because at 2-10 – that's really all you have to go on, okay? Because if there's 5-star, like, you're not getting Caden Proctor at Vandy. I don't care how much NIL you have. You were 2-10, and a pretty pitiful 2-10 at that. And you're not getting those type of offensive linemen yet, okay? You're not getting that. What you're getting is guys, what they've got, actually, I'll go ahead and tell you what they've got, is guys coming from programs like Minnesota, UTEP, guys that have a lot of potential. The Stephen Hubbard from UTEP, he performed well there. He was a little bit beat up, and he just wanted an upgrade into the best league. So Vandy was his best chance. All right. You get an offensive lineman from Minnesota who didn't quite get that chance, Caden O'Connell, and he is somebody that is going to be an outstanding piece to the puzzle at tackle. You get, you get that on the offensive line. You get, you have a chance to get Chase Mitchell as well, who hasn't committed yet, but you have that chance to get him in the mix there as well. So you've got some opportunity there with the offensive line. Now, what this provides is a little bit of depth, and for them to be a little bit good at stuff. You have a couple returning starters, guy coming off injury. You got some insurance for him. You've got guys that are strong in run blocking. You've got guys that are quick, communicative, veteran guys that have played big boy football before and understand kind of what it takes a little bit to be able to thrive in this league. And so it starts there. With them being able to do things they can protect. If they can protect, the ball can get out on time. If the ball can get out on time, Darian Wiley can make plays. Quincy Skinner can make plays. Junior Sherrill can make plays. If that ball gets out on time, okay? In the run game, this offensive line is built really well for the run, okay? Stephen Lasoya, Stephen Hubbard, Gage Pitchford, who, fingers crossed, comes off of injury well. You have a chance to really do something special, do something you couldn't do last year, which is have an identity. All right. So I'm extremely excited. Cade McConnell from Minnesota. He was a 3-star prospect coming out, signed with Minnesota, who's a really good Big Ten program. So I would say that him getting an opportunity to play tackle, he would probably slot in at right tackle, would be outstanding. So The offensive line, the key to everything when it comes to that. Now, where the explosiveness really happens, okay, you got an offensive line that's run blocking well and pass blocking. You got your quarterback has time, okay? Now, if your quarterback has time, you have pieces in the receiving core now. You have 6 guys that whatever combination of guys you want to put out there, whatever personnel group, and I'll include the tight ends as well, okay? Whatever personnel groups you want to put out there, you want to go 11 personnel with a slot and 2 outside guys, you have that. If you want to go 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, 2 outside guys, or an outside guy and a slot guy, or you could have 10 personnel with 2 slots, 2 wides, 2 outside guys. I mean, you have the guys to be able to do that, okay? You have ballers there. So you have guys that fit different roles. Jeremiah Dillon, he's the smooth, take the lid off the defense guy. Okay. Darian Wiley is the tough outside. I'm going to take a slant to the house, but most of my catches are probably going to be short to intermediate, deep intermediate. Okay. That's my range, but I'm going to be explosive within that range. Quincy Skinner is somebody that's going to win a tough contested catch. He's going to be kind of that grinded out. He can play outside, but he'll thrive in the slot. He'll kind of bounce around. I can see Jerry Kill and Tim Beck doing creative stuff with him because he's kind of more of a utility guy versus Darian Wiley, who's more probably prone to be an outside guy. Luke Foungy is you got a 3rd and 8. You need a 12-yard curl. Throw it to him. He's going to make the catch. First down, all right? Cole Spence at tight end. Tyler Fortenberry, I think, will come into his own if you need some guys in the passing game, or if you need, Amadi Abachi as like the blocking tight end. Like if you want to go like 3rd and 5 and you want to run outside zone, you put a 4th blocker there. He goes into the game, or you got a guy that wants to trap across. If you go 12 personnel, things like that he brings to the table to transfer kid from Cornell. So, and then I think you have 2 really good backs and a 3rd guy that can contribute. But Cedric Alexander and AJ Newberry, I think, are going to be the top 2 guys. If Clark Lee doesn't add another running back in this transfer portal class, I think those 2 guys are going to be outstanding in their own right, and they're going to contribute a good bit. So, again, with all those possibilities, you can do just about you're going to have the ability to do just about anything you want to do. But what it's going to take is everybody being on the same page, communicating, and everyone doing their job, okay, and their job only. So Quincy Skinner can't try to fix the run game. Quincy Skinner can only do what Quincy Skinner's good at. If he does that, Vandy's offense has a chance to be pretty explosive, pretty special. I don't think I've seen an offense that lacks the star power, but at the same time has the potential to be kind of explosive, right? I never thought I would say that ever in my life, that you have an offense with no star power, right? Like I don't believe anyone in that offense is a superstar. I would have said Will Shepard, Jade McGowan are superstars. But I think you have a really sharp offensive coordinator with a really sharp offensive head coach behind the scenes, and you have very savvy veteran, something to prove, chip on their shoulder, skill guys that I think will gel. And in the long run, I think that will be better than having stars on your team. So your star is going to be your unit instead of being individual players. So collectively, the offensive unit, the 11 guys on the field, will be the star. And I think that's what Vandy desperately needs. And they need guys pulling in the right direction. So I'm excited about that. And you should be too. And also, you should be excited about Mark Byington, what he's doing. He has a chance to bring in a big guy. I think there's another guy on the radar that you should be thinking about. He is a Trojan. He is a West Coaster. So think about that. We'll talk about him next. All right, this episode is brought to you by Yahoo Finance. That's right. Success is great. Wouldn't it be great if you could see all your invested investment, and retirement accounts in one place? With Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and access expert analysis you need to tend to your entire portfolio with confidence. All right, let's get straight to the point. You want to grow your portfolio to deal with the rising cost of inflation, to pay off your debt or your mortgage, pretty much anything standing in the way of you and financial freedom, right? With Yahoo Finance, you can get access to the news, the data, and the tools that you need in order to help you reach that financial freedom. When it comes to your financial future, you think you've done it all. You've saved, you've researched, you've invested all that you can. Now you need to take those investments to the next level by using every single financial great uses. Yahoo Finance, right? So if you use what every financial great uses in Yahoo Finance, you'll be just fine. So for more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or are looking for that extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. They are the number one finance destination, producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more. Securely link your brokerage accounts for a unified view of your wealth, including a 401k and other investments. A comprehensive perspective is what sets apart great investors, and it's how Yahoo Finance ensures you have the insight to look at your wealth in its entirety. So with a community of over 90 million users each month, their real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. So for comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com, the number one financial destination, yahoofinance.com. Again, that's yahoofinance.com. All right, welcome back. Are you watching ESPN and Fox Sports all day on your TV? Are you having to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Well, make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV Channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Speaking of you everydayers, thank you for making us part of your everyday listens. We appreciate you greatly here at Locked On Vandy, and that without you, this show can't run as successfully as it does. So Mark Byington has a chance to land a truly great big man, which I think will be the centerpiece to what this team can do. And I talked about that on yesterday's episode, where having an athletic big man is great for NBA potential. That should be a good selling point, okay? Because with his system, you're going to get that. Having a great big man immediately makes you a tournament contender, okay? Immediately takes you from the bottom of the pile to worst case scenario, upper middle of the pile, okay? Which gets you competing for an NIT guaranteed possible, low seed entry into the NCAA tournament, okay? So with all that potential, it's important to nail this, okay? It's important to nail it. Christian Reeves just visited. I think he's going to commit, okay? And that would be a tremendous piece. Getting recruited to Duke out of high school is no small feat. Definitely pun intended. All right. So the 7'1" Christian Reeves visited, okay? But there's another target on the horizon, all right? And it's Kejani Wright from USC. Now, there's not a ton of smoke where, he's imminent committing and, he's, Mark Byington is hot on his trail. He's just somebody that I think has been contacted by Vandy. I think he's somebody that Vandy needs to go after hardcore, okay? I said this about Devin McLaughlin, okay? And what Vandy do? They went out and landed him. So I'm going to say this about Kejani Wright, okay? Because I watched some of his highlights at USC. I didn't watch a lot of USC basketball, or hardly any USC basketball, really, if I'm being honest. But when I heard that Kejani Wright, a center, was interested in Vandy, I went and checked it out. I said, you know what? I'm going to see what this guy's all about, because I'm going to talk about him and I'm going to see what he's all about, because he's got some highlights. And so I went and watched him. And that guy controls the paint, man. And he's pretty good. He's pretty nifty. He probably isn't as good like end to end maybe. But I think he's a guy that will allow you to slow the pace down a little bit if you need to, because it is difficult to run at a tight pace, right, all the time. But if you don't have that guy, that big guy in the middle, you can't slow down. Your only advantage is run other teams ragged, right? But having him allows you to have that other dimension of, okay, if this thing does turn into a half-court game, which it will at some point, because well-coached teams will say, hey, you know what they're not good at? Half-court offense, because they got a 6'9" center, right? And they're not going to be able to handle my 6'11", 7-foot behemoth in the middle. Let's go and exploit that, right? If you have a guy in the middle, they're not going to be able to exploit that as bad. And now you've got all these role players, these star role players that, you know, any one of them can, you know, if they hit their role, it's going to be good. So Kejani Wright, to me, would be a home run because he was highly rated coming out of high school. I think he was a top 60 player, actually. He's great in the paint. He's great at finishing around the rim. Okay. He's good at blocking shots, getting rebounds, playing in traffic, being physical, you know, everything you need from a center, he's good at. I haven't seen him run the floor. USC probably didn't do as much of that, but I imagine he's pretty good on the defensive end and getting the ball in transition to the guards and things like that. But he's somebody that can definitely clean up the boards if you have a pick and roll, or if you have some sort of set piece, or, you know, anything where you need to kind of get the ball into him. He's good fundamentally, and he kind of fits into, I think he potentially fits into what Mark Byington needs, which is versatility, somebody who's tough and physical down low, and somebody who, when inevitably one of your games gets turned into a half-court battle, you need it. You need what this guy brings to the table, and he's certainly that. So if it's not Christian Reeves, it needs to be Kejani Wright, because you need that big presence inside. And either one of those guys, I think, would be a home run. But I think Kejani Wright is somebody, you know, I think Vandy should go harder after if they're not already. They may be. They may be setting up a visit as I'm speaking now. But Kejani Wright can be the missing piece, can be the final piece to make this team a truly tournament contender. So there you go. Speaking of trying to, you know, when it comes to qualifying for tournaments and competing and being a contender for postseason tournaments, Vandy baseball is starting to slip through the cracks a little bit with them. What they need to do is they just need to commit to speed, man. The speed kills. Okay, they just need to commit to their speedy lineup. What does that mean? Even I'll talk about it here in a minute. Just stay tuned. All right, this episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on specific spreads, money lines, player props, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. All right, welcome back. Third and final segment. We're going to wrap this show up here pretty soon. I want to thank you for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. Make sure you make Locked On SEC your second listen each and every day, and then follow along with the rest of the SEC. If you want to be a well-informed SEC fan, make sure you check all of that out for sure. Okay, so talking about Vandy baseball again. Okay, what's plaguing Vandy baseball? Well, they can't seem to figure out how to score runs consistently. They start off in the first inning great, tack on 4 runs first inning, then they don't score the rest of the way, and then they make these games to be nail biters like the Louisville game, and their pitching is not going to hold up. It's either going to be an early exit from the SEC tournament with no postseason NCAA bid, or if for some reason they do make it into a regional, it's going to be like as a 3 seed or like a quick exit from a regional. Like it's not going to, they're going to have to go out west somewhere and play like Arizona's bracket or something, and it's not going to be a fun experience for the Vandyboys. So what they need to do to figure out how to score runs and score runs fast, a little bit of a foreshadowing there, a little bit of foreshadowing pun, but they need to commit to speed. Okay. They need to ensure that their fast lineup is out there, because the last time they really committed to speed, like truly committed to speed, it was when Indiana State was coming into town. Indiana State ranked in the top 25, great pitching. Everyone was like, okay, well, here's where Vandyboys, here's where their dream's going to get crushed. And then when Tim Corbin came out with the lineup, everybody's like, what the heck are we doing? Like why? And all of a sudden we run ruled them. It was like a 20 burger too. Like it was something like, you're like, what is this? Like, where did this come from? Right. And so by doing that, I think what ended up happening was like you had these fast guys and you had your power guys. You had Espinal, you had RJ Austin, you had Cameron Kozel, you had guys that were hitting for power a little bit. And RJ Austin has power and speed. Jonathan Vastine can hit for power when he wants to, but he's more of a throw it in the gap and run the bases. But like when they had their fast lineup out there, they had Troy Leneve, they had Polk, Leneve, and Jacob Humphrey in the outfield. That was an explosive lineup because those guys got on base and they raised hell. And when they did that, the opposing pitchers just didn't seem comfortable. Indiana State's pitching did not seem comfortable. The games they've won like that, some of the games they played in Houston were like that. Pitchers just can't get comfortable. When there's speed on the base pass, albeit it wasn't at the college level, but I have got on the mound before and like you pitch to speed, even if the speed is up at the plate, like you just like you try so hard to not let them hit the baseball because you're scared they're just going to circle the bases on you, that you just go out of character. You start walking, you start actually throwing hittable pitches. And when you start doing that, the runs just start piling on. And before you know it, like you blink and it's like, oh boy. And then like all of a sudden, like you get runners on second and third because you've done double steals, you've hit, slapped, and begged, borrowed, and stealed guys over into scoring position. Next thing you know, you get a little power guy come up, like you get Vastine and Polk on base, and next thing you know, here comes RJ Austin. He slams one out of the yard. That's 3 runs right there, just like that. And the pitcher is a little bit tighter. And when you have that, now your guys get confidence. Now your guys are like, hey, if I just get on base, RJ is going to bring me in. Leneve is going to bring me in. Espinal is going to bring me in. Like you start to think like that. And then as the starting pitcher, like if you're Devin Futrell, you're like, yeah, they're going to score runs for me today. I can go out and relax and I can be more aggressive. Like pitchers can be more aggressive because they're not pressing. Hitters can be more aggressive because they can understand that I don't have to drive everything out of the park. I just need to slap this between the second and third base, or between the shortstop and third baseman. I just need to get on base because if I get on base, I can steal. If I can steal, I can score. I'm fast enough to score from first. I can do some things on the base paths that put a little pressure on the other team. Like I can function a little bit as a baseball player, and I can relax a little bit more because like I have confidence that, hey, this guy is shook, man. And this guy doesn't know how this guy's approach just goes completely out the window. My approach is I'm going to sit on first pitch fastball. I'm going to take, if they want to throw it outside corner, I'm just going to slap it to the opposite field. I'm going to make no bones about it. I'm just going to get on and we're going to run. That's what I feel like when Vandy was at their best. Pitching was battling and the fast lineup was scoring probably scoring more runs than what they're trying to do with this current shake. So they just need to shake the lineup up, get their fast guys in, order them properly to where you're sprinkling in power guys along the way to where, one swing in the back can get you 2-3 runs. And that's how you build a lead. And you got to do that consistently. You can't do that in the first, second inning and then go nothing for 6 innings. And then in the 8th, when you need it, you can't get it because you've lost all your momentum from the first couple of innings. So it's something that I think needs to, at least just get them through this year. And then obviously the answer is recruit more power in the offseason, but we can't do that right now. That's not going to help anything. We understand the problem, recruit more power, but you can't do that right now. You can't do that in May when the season's still going on. You can't sign them. They can't play. So do the best with what you got right now. Worry about that in the offseason with portal, high school guys, and all that good stuff. So, but that's going to be all for us today here at the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. We thank you for joining us. We thank you for making us an everyday part of your listen. So until tomorrow, we'll see you back here. We'll get you ready for the weekend series against Tennessee, amongst other things. But regardless, we'll see you back here tomorrow on the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Peace out. Be safe. Anchor down.